Hey, it's me, Oscar from the Coding Universe, with episode 17 of Java Game Development, in which I'll be covering smooth transitions. As you see, I'm going to be using NetBeans for this episode because I kind of wanted to use a different IDE for once. Now, so this application showcases the use of smooth, non-linear transitions using the scene function found in the Java libraries. So here's the window, nothing special, title is smooth transitions, although it doesn't really matter. And when I press enter, that was magical. A blue rectangle fades in from the blackness, and also when you go to the output it says state changed fading. It did that at exactly the moment when I pressed enter, and it also said state changed to main, which was after the fading occurred. If I press enter again, the state goes back to intro, and again it repeats itself. So let's stop here and think for a moment how this can be done using the scene functions. As you may or may not know, the math.scene function takes a radian instead of a degree. Basically, how you can transfer that to a radian is to do math.2radians and then the degree. Now, the math scene function returns a number between -1 and 1. Its input should be between 0 and 90, although it can also be above 90. But yeah, then it kind of goes back. If you know how the scene looks on a graph, if you have numbers above 90, it simply goes back again. Yeah. Now, what we can do, or actually, the most important thing about the math scene function is that it returns a smooth line. So it's not linear, it's not a straight line. If you put the opacity against the time, it wouldn't be straight, but rather it would be smoothed out, starting slowly incrementing, and then at the end it switched back to slowly decreasing. So yeah, here I'll draw it. Artrich Studio. So instead of a straight line like this, which would kind of be unnatural for a fade in, you would get something like this. Or yeah, actually this. So it starts at 0 transparency, and it slowly goes up, and then it slowly goes down again. Or actually the graph slowly, yeah. You get what I mean, you understand the picture, I hope. So yeah, let's go back to NetBeans. Nope. I've done this using an enumerator called state, and for our application we've basically got 3 states: intro, fading, and main. In the introduction state, it does absolutely nothing, spare the checking for the enter key. If you press the enter key, the state moves to fading, in which the actual fading happens. So yeah, I'll open it again. This is the introduction state, and this is the fading state. So you can see a blue rectangle fading from the blackness into full opacity, by which time it will have changed the state to main. And in the main state, yeah, it just draws the transparency without any draws the rectangle without any transparency. Now, if we were to press the enter key whilst in the main state, it would switch back to the intro state. Fair enough. So we've also created an instance variable called state, and we set that to intro. So we start at the introduction state. You could also start at the main state, and guess what happens? it starts with drawing the blue rectangle. When I press enter, it goes back to the intro state. Or not goes back, it was never at the intro state, because it started at the main state. Okay, let's revert that. Now here, this display code is all very similar, except this set vsync enabled call. The set vsync enabled call removes screen tearing. Screen tearing occurs when the actual application is drawing faster than the display can keep up, and you get all these weird tearing things. You don't want that, so we're going to set display vsync to true. Now all this OpenGL initialization code is also very similar, except the GL ortho call, which sets 0, 0 to the center, 1, 1 to the upper right, and -1, -1 to the bottom left. This is basically the default OpenGL coordinate system. And then lastly, we enabled transcluency. So yeah, the GL enabled GL blend, source alpha, 1 - source alpha stuff. Here we declare a new variable of type float, which is the amount of fade in degrees ranging from 0 to 90. So this is going to be the input for the math.scene function. Here we have the main display loop, nothing special here. Yeah, we switch over the state, and if the fade stuff is under 90 degrees, so if our opacity is not 100%, we increment our fade by 1.5. A higher number would mean faster fading, and a slower number would mean slower fading. Also, if you wanted, you could implement the delta pattern for a frame rate independent way of handling the fading, but for the purpose of this tutorial I thought that was unnecessary. Here. So if our fade is above 90, so if we've already drawn everything, it's 100% opacity, set the fade to 0. So yeah, just reset the fade, and then draw the rectangle with full opacity as the main state would, and then also set the state to main and save state changed. Okay. Now, also do break so it goes out of the switch state statement. Oh, that's horrible to pronounce. Okay, now also in the fade state, we're going to set the color to blue and the opacity. Okay, here comes the difficult part. We set it to float because, well, GL color 4F, the last one, is a float number, and the scene method returns a double. Or actually, I believe it returns a double. Let's just check. Yeah, it returns a double. So then we write math.scene, math.toRadians, fade. That wasn't too hard, was it? Yeah, basically what I've told you about before, we've now implemented that into hardcore Java code. Here we draw the rectangle using the glRectF function. Yeah, nothing to really explain about that. Here in the main case, so in the case that the state is main, we draw the fully opaque blue rectangle. Simple as that. Now let's go to the keyboard input event handling code. So while keyboard.next, indicate that we want to iterate over all the different event keys. Say if keyboard is key down, keyboard key return. So if the event key is enter, if we've pressed enter, yeah, do this, enter the other switch statement. And in this switch statement, we basically go to the next state. And when we're at the last state, go back to the first state. So in the case of fading, we reset the fade, important. We set the state to main. And then we say state changed main. You can see right here. So I can actually cancel the fading by pressing enter quickly in succession of pressing the first enter. So if I do like this, enter, enter, it was not entirely done with the fading, but because I pressed enter, it skipped the next state. Now, where were we? Yeah, okay, in the main state, we go back to the fading state. In the introduction state, we go to the fading state. Introduction state, go to the fading state, and main state, go back to the introduction state. So yeah, we update the display, set the stuff we've drawn onto this display, and check for close requests. And then we synchronize to 60 frames per second. Yeah. And then lastly, we destroy the display and exit the Java virtual machine. Now, something I'm going to be adding regularly in these tutorials, these I say what I've already done tutorials, I'm going to call them like that, where I've already coded stuff, and then I tell you about what I've coded, how I've done it, so I can be more abstract, and it's much easier for me, and you don't hear the annoying ticking sounds on my keyboard. There will be a challenge. Or, yeah, not really a challenge, yeah, challenge for yourself. Try to implement, when you're in the main state, if you press enter, you go back to another state which fades back to the introduction state. Or I guess you could do that with the escape key. I don't really care. Something along those lines. It would be a fun, nice challenge to see if you really understand this subject. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comment section below. If I've done something wrong, please tell me so I can improve that the next time I create a video. Also, if this video helped you, please remember to leave a like and or favorite. Yeah. And it's always awkward to me having to end these videos because I never come up with something to say, so I'm just going to say farewell. Yeah. Bye.